So today's topic is wave impedance in TM and TE waves. So waves inside the waveguide, there can be either TM or TE waves. So there is no existence of TEM waves which we have seen for an unbounded medium. Okay. So what is this wave impedance? So when we are having the word that impedance, so what we have been thinking of, that it should be the ratio of voltage to current, right? Whenever we have been thinking about the impedance, so total impedance can be how much current flows in a closed circuit and what is the terminal voltage we have been assuming on that point, on that node, that will give us the impedance. So here also, when we are considering wave impedance, we thinking about the same ratio, though we didn't have the voltage or current realization for the wave. So we need to consider the equivalent of these two. So voltage equivalent for a wave can be considered as an electric field and the current equivalent can be considered as the magnetic field. So we can say that wave impedance is the ratio of the strength of electric field in one transverse direction to the strength of the magnetic field along the other transverse direction, because we have seen that electric field, magnetic field and the direction of wave propagation, they are always orthogonal to each other. Okay. So we can define something like that. It is the ratio of electric field strength in one transverse direction to the strength of magnetic field along other transverse direction. Okay. So we can write this impedance, it is having the symbol of eta, right? So if we are considering that wave is propagating along z direction, then it will be the ratio of electric field strength. Let us consider electric field along x and magnetic field along y. If the reverse one is there, then we need to take the negative sign, that is Ey by Hx. Okay. So this is the concept about the wave impedance. So what is our task? We need to find out the electric field and magnetic field in the orthogonal direction, and we need to take the ratio, then only we can find out the wave impedance. So let us go with this wave impedance for the TM wave. First one is wave impedance for TM wave in rectangular waveguide, that is eta TM Ex by Hy. So we already derived this different field components for this TM wave or TE wave. Now let us put the generalized expression for this Ex and Ey, considering the wave is propagating along z direction, that is minus gamma by h square del Ez by del x minus j omega mu by h square del hz by del y. Same, minus gamma by h square del of hz by del of y minus j omega epsilon h square del of Ez by del x. Now for the TM wave, there should not be any magnetic field component along the direction of wave propagation, that is transverse magnetic field. Whatever the magnetic field it will have, it will always lie in the transverse plane. Okay, so this Hz and Hz we need to cancel them. So we are left with minus gamma by h square del Ez by del x and minus j omega epsilon by h square Ez by del x. So this two will get cancelled. Then we are left with this gamma, this h square will get cancelled. Then we are left with gamma by j omega epsilon. So for the lossless condition where alpha is considered as 0, no attenuation, then we can directly write this gamma as j beta. Right? So this beta by omega epsilon, we know when we are having the beta, when we are having the wave propagation, that is we are having the frequency just above the cutoff frequency, that is root over omega square mu epsilon minus omega c square mu epsilon by omega epsilon. So we can write down this one. If we take this, omega will get cancelled. So if we take common, then omega will get cancelled. Then we can take this mu epsilon outside, that is root over mu epsilon by epsilon into 1 minus omega c by omega whole square. So this one will be root over mu by epsilon root over 1 minus fc by f whole square. Right? Now inside the waveguide, if we are having free space, then this root over mu by epsilon will give us the free space intrinsic impedance. It is of 120 pi or eta naught. So for free space, root over mu by epsilon will be mu naught mu r by epsilon naught epsilon r. That will be, we know the value of mu naught and epsilon naught. We will have this mu r epsilon r will be 1. Then we can write this one mu naught by epsilon naught, which will be 120 pi or approximately 377 ohm, which is considered as free space intrinsic impedance. Let us consider it is given as eta naught. So therefore this eta Tm, it will be eta naught root over 1 minus fc by f naught whole square, or eta naught root over 1 minus lambda naught by lambda c whole square. Okay, so since this free space wavelength is less than the cutoff wavelength, then only we are having the wave propagation. Since this free space wavelength, that is the wave is been propagating in free space is inside the waveguide. Since this wavelength is less than lambda c, for wave propagation to exist, we can write this this eta Tm is less than intrinsic impedance of the free space. It is less than the intrinsic impedance of the free space. Next, in the same way, we can find out for the TE wave. So I am just leaving this one up to you to find out the expression. I am just writing the final expression. In the same way, you need to take out the Ex and Ey. So from there you need to find out for TE wave which are the components will exist, and depending upon that what is the expression. So you just go with the derivation for this. I am just writing the final expression. TE wave. So this is eta TE is equals to eta naught by root over 1 minus Fc by F whole square. Therefore we can write in terms of wavelength, that is eta naught by 1 minus lambda naught by lambda c. You can write down this one as f naught as well, operating frequency in free space, whole to the power half. So here again, since this lambda naught is less than lambda c, we can say that this intrinsic impedance for TE wave should be greater than the free space intrinsic impedance. Okay. Now if we take the multiplication of these two, eta Tm into eta Te, I am just only two line, I am just writing here only, eta Te into eta Tm. So if we multiply this one with this value, then we are left with eta naught square, or we can write eta naught is root over of eta Te into eta Tm. So what is this eta naught? Eta naught is the intrinsic impedance when the wave propagates in a free space. So this intrinsic impedance is same as the intrinsic impedance for TEM wave, because when the wave propagates in free space, it considers the TEM wave. So we can consider, if we multiply the intrinsic impedance either for TE or TM, we are left with the intrinsic impedance of the TEM wave. Any confusion up to this? Anyone? Anyone having any confusion?
Sir, when we say the intrinsic impedance and wave impedance, are they the same thing?
Intrinsic impedance and wave impedance, it is, you can say the conceptually they are not same, but why? Because the intrinsic impedance is considered for the wave impedance when they are propagating in the free space. So same way we can consider the same nomenclature, but we need to say for the waveguide we need to specify which kind of wave it is having, either it is TE wave or either it is TM wave. So if we consider eta Tm, we have been saying that it is the wave impedance for TM wave. If we have been considering TE, then we need to say that it is the wave impedance for the TE wave. Now when the wave is propagating in an unbounded medium, because this waveguides are the bounded medium, then we can say yes, the wave is having the intrinsic impedance of this value. But if we are considering inside the waveguide, either it is filled with any dielectric medium or free space, we need to mention that it is the wave impedance inside the waveguide due to this dielectric. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So when we have been considering about the modes, we have seen what are the different modes can be exist for different waves, either it is TE waves or TM waves. So it is completely depending upon the dimension of the waveguide. So on this modes we are having a different kind of mode or different segregation of mode. These are known as degenerative modes and evanescent mode. So we have seen the modes. So out of them we are having another kind of modes which are known as degenerative mode. It is a special case for the actual modes which we have seen. That is, if we have been considering dominant mode, other than this dominant mode, these are the two different modes which may exist, and it is also completely depending upon the configuration of the waveguide. So that is known as degenerative mode, degenerative and evanescent mode. So this degenerative mode, it is considered at that time only when two different modes having the same cutoff frequency. So obviously when we have been considered for TE or TM, we have seen either TE10 or TE01 or TE11 or TM11 or TM21, whatever the modes we are having, it is having a different cutoff frequency because it completely relates the dimension of the waveguide. Now degenerative modes are those modes if two of the modes are having the same cutoff frequency. Now just try to think, when TE01 or TE10 will be having the same cutoff frequency. Just try to assume. So I am just writing about these degenerative modes. If two different modes having same cutoff frequency, then the modes are known as degenerative mode. Okay. So what was our FC? Can anyone tell me what was the FC? What was the expression of FC? The people has forgot all those things. What was the expression of FC? What was the expression of lambda c? If you can remember lambda c, then you can easily find out.
So lambda c is equal to 2ab by root 2mb minus 2na.
Root over?
Root over mb minus na.
Okay. Cutoff frequency Fc, if we are dealing with any dielectric medium, then we can write it is as 1 by 2s pi root over mu epsilon into m pi by a whole square plus n pi by b whole square whole to the power half. Or if we need to go with lambda c, we can write down this one as 2 when we are filling with free space. When we are filling with free space, then we can write down this one as like this, m pi by a whole square n pi by b whole square. So here any dielectric can be considered, dielectric medium can be considered. and here waveguide is filled with free space or air. Okay, now from this expression you people just tell me when two different modes can have the same cutoff frequency, when it can be possible, when two different modes can be have same cutoff frequency or same lambda c. Now if we consider t is 01, so 01 means m is 0, so n is 1, so we are having some value of cutoff wavelength. Sorry, pi will be not there, so we need to consider pi here. So when it will be possible, if this a and b are same. So if we are considering TE01, so for this case our lambda c will be 2b. If we consider TE10, then our lambda c will be twice a. So when these two modes will produce same cutoff wavelength or same cutoff frequency, only when this a and b are same. So what does it mean? Our waveguide structure is a square shape, it is not at all a rectangle. So here it is rectangle a, it is b, but for having degenerative mode we need to consider a square waveguide a, it is b. So it is only possible for an square waveguide. Okay, so what is degenerative mode? If two different modes can produce same cutoff frequency or cutoff wavelength. Now if we consider about evanescent mode, evanescent modes are those modes which are not possible through a waveguide. The modes which are not possible through waveguide are called evanescent mode. Clear? Next is power transmission in rectangular waveguide. Any doubt up to this? Power transmission in rectangular waveguide. So it is the same thing what we have been seen for the Poynting theorem, from the Poynting theorem. Okay, so power, it can be calculated by means of complex Poynting theorem. Okay, so it is here assume that the guide is terminated in such a way there is no reflection from the receiving end, or we can consider that the waveguide is infinitely long compared to the wavelength. If we have been considering with the wavelength, so it is quite longer. So for that case only, if there is no reflection or the cause for reflection we are removing, that is the waveguide is quite longer compared to the wavelength. So for that case we can say the power is transmitted through the waveguide. So according to this Poynting theorem we can find out the transmitted power through the waveguide. So from Poynting theorem we can write down this transmitted power. It is closed surface integral half of E cross H conjugate ds. Okay. Now for the lossless dielectric, if the dielectric which is filled inside this waveguide, if it is lossless, then the time average power flow through the rectangular waveguide we can find out by simply taking the impedance by V square by R, whatever the power we can assume for any circuit. So same way we can consider for lossless dielectric, the time average power flow through the waveguide, it is 1 by 2 Zg. That is the wave impedance inside the waveguide. We can write Zg or we can write eta, whatever it is. So it is the impedance at the source end. So let us consider the cross surface area is S, not S. Let us consider it is A. So we are writing with respect to E only into dA. That is, H can be written as E conjugate by eta. So eta here is the Zg. So E cross E conjugate, that is E square, mod of E square. Or we can also write as Zg by 2. It is the cross section area, mod of H square into dA. So what is this Zg? Where this Zg is Ex by Hy or minus of Ey by Hx. So this mod of E square, it is filled in both the direction. Mod of H square, it is the magnetic field in both the direction. Okay. So for this TE wave, because we need to specify this Zg, it is either for TE or TM. So for TEMN mode, so we need to specify this mode. So we can write down this one as transmitted power as Zg. We need to put, so it is root over of 1 minus Fc by F whole square by twice eta. So this cross section area, it can be given by 0 to B, 0 to A, mod of Ex square plus mod of Ey square dx dy in both the direction for TMMN modes. This transmitted power through the waveguide, it is 1 by twice eta whole square integration 0 to B, 0 to A, Ex square plus Ey square dx dy. We can also write down in terms of H. We can also write down in terms of h. Any doubt on this? Anyone? Anyone having any doubt? Anyone? Any doubt you can ask. Okay, fine. So let us go with some problem. So first problem. When the dominant mode is propagated in an air-filled rectangular waveguide, the guide wavelength, it is wavelength inside the waveguide, wavelength for a frequency of 9000 megahertz is 4 centimeter. Calculate the breadth of the waveguide. Calculate the breadth of the waveguide. So what is given? The dominant mode is propagated and it is filled with air. So it says the waveguide, the wavelength inside the waveguide is 4 centimeter for the operating frequency of 9000 megahertz. So we need to calculate the breadth of the waveguide. Okay. So first of all it says dominant mode. Dominant mode for rectangular waveguide is TE10, that is lambda c is twice a. So it says this is the guided wavelength for the operating frequency of 9000 megahertz. So we already know the expression of guided wavelength and its relation with operating wavelength and cutoff wavelength, that is lambda g, it is root over 1 minus lambda naught by lambda c whole square by lambda naught. And what is this lambda naught? It is c by f. So c is 3 into 10 to the power 10 centimeter per second by f is given as 9000 megahertz means 9 gigahertz. So 9 into 10 to the power 9 hertz. So it is coming out as 3.33 centimeter. Lambda g is given 4. Lambda naught we have derived 3.33. 1 minus 3.33 by lambda c whole square. So from here we can find out lambda c you just do this background calculation. This lambda c is coming out as 6.0302 centimeter. So here this lambda c is greater than the operating wavelength. So we need to reconfirm this one. This cutoff wavelength should be greater than the operating wavelength, then only the wave can propagate inside the waveguide. Always we need to reconfirm this thing. The operating wavelength must be smaller than the cutoff wavelength. So since this lambda c is greater than lambda naught and lambda g guided wavelength is greater than lambda naught, lambda g is 4, the wave propagates. So what is this lambda c? We have already derived. Lambda c is twice a. So a is lambda c by 2, that is 6.0302 by 2. So it is coming out as 3.0151 centimeter. Anyone having any confusion on this? You can ask. Any confusion? Anyone? Any confusion? Okay, so let us proceed for second problem. The TE10 mode is propagated in a rectangular waveguide of dimension A is equals to 6 centimeter and B is equals to 4 centimeter by means of a travelling wave detector the distance between a maximum and minimum is found to be 4.55 centimeter. Find the frequency of the wave. Find the frequency of the wave. What this is, they found the distance between the maxima and a minimum inside the waveguide. Okay, so you just think of when we can have a minima and a maxima for let us consider a sinusoidal wave. A sinusoidal wave, we are having a sinusoidal wave like this. So it is starting from 0, a single cycle like this. Let us consider. So we can consider this is, let us consider V peak, this is minus V peak, this is 0 level, it is T, this side it is voltage. So this point, it is 1 minima this point it is one maxima, this point it is one minima, this point it is one maxima, and this point again it is a minimum. So at what distance we can have a minima and maxima? So if this is our wavelength lambda, so for what value of lambda we can have a minima and a maximum? So this point it is lambda by 4, it is lambda by 2, it is 3 lambda by 2, it is 3 lambda by 4, sorry, and it is 4 lambda by 4, that is lambda. So we can consider a minima and maxima, the distance between a minima and a maxima, it is lambda by 4, isn't it? The distance between the minima and maxima, it can be lambda by 4. Since the wave is propagating inside the waveguide, then we will consider this lambda is as lambda g, okay, guided wavelength. So if we go with the solution for this, given as A 6 centimeter, B 4 centimeter. So distance between maxima and minima is equals to 4.55 centimeter, which is equals to lambda g by 4. So from here we can easily find out lambda g. Therefore lambda g is coming out as 18.2 centimeter. Now TE10 mode is propagating. So for TE, our intention is to find out the frequency of the propagating wave. TE10 mode, this lambda c is twice A, it is coming out as 12 centimeter, okay. So from this expression lambda g root over 1 minus lambda naught by lambda c whole square, we are having our, we need to find out this lambda naught, then only we can find out the operating frequency. So we know lambda g, we know lambda c. So if we put all those things, this lambda naught square is coming out as 1 by 9.363 into 10 to the power minus 3, which is 100.36 approximately, or we can take this lambda naught approximately as 10 centimeter. So lambda naught is 10 centimeter, we can easily find out f. So this, okay, I am just writing this one as lambda naught is equals to c by f, and f is equals to c by lambda naught. So c is 3 into 10 to the power 10 centimeter per second, and lambda naught is 10 centimeter. So it is coming out as 3 into 10 to the power 9 or 3 gigahertz. So this is the operating frequency of the signal which is propagating inside the waveguide. Any doubt? Anyone up to this? Anyone having any doubt? Okay, I am just giving you a problem. Try to solve this one. You just write it down here. a rectangular waveguide has dimensions 2.5 by 5 centimeter. Determine the guide wavelength, phase constant beta, and phase velocity Vp at wavelength of 4.5 centimeter for the dominant mode. Okay, so try to solve this problem. Anyone having any confusion, any doubt, you can ask. Any confusion? Anyone?